third installment of the Robert Langdon trilogy, or if you don't recognize that name, it's just another Da Vinci Code movie. And in this one, Tom Hanks is returning as the character Robert Langdon. Unfortunately, though, the movie opens up with him having amnesia. He can't remember anything that happened the past few days, and when he wakes up, he's being chased by an assassin who's trying to kill him. There's a picture of the Dante painting in his pocket, and the Dante mask was recently stolen. And when all of these things actually tie into a billionaire creating some sort of plague called Inferno that's going to wipe out half of the world's population, now Tom Hanks has to team up with Felicity Jones to try to find out where the virus is and contain it before it can spread everywhere. I wasn't particularly excited for this film because there's something about the trailers that just didn't really seem that appeasing to me. Also because I'd recently seen the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, the other two installments of this series, and I just wasn't really a big fan of them. It's acted really well, and there's some moments where I think it could be really good. It's just both of those movies never really got me fully engaged. And with this movie, Inferno, this might actually be the worst one in the entire trilogy. I will say, though, the best thing about this movie is Tom Hanks. He's a great actor, everyone loves him, myself included. It's just easy to love Tom Hanks. So in this movie, he does a good job playing this character. He's been doing a good job in the other two films, and I really like the idea of him having 48 hours of his mind just gone, and him having to figure out what happened. More on that later, though. I also really liked Felicity Jones. It did take a while, though, for me to actually get to know her character. At first they threw in a little bits of, oh, I read history books when I was a kid. My class in school thought I was weird, but then when certain things are revealed later on in the movie, I actually got behind her character, and I thought Felicity Jones did a really good job. It's just for a while, though, it felt like her character was just going through the motions of a typical action thriller movie, but then her character, I think, gets a little bit better. Irfan Khan was a pleasant surprise in this movie. I knew he was going to be in this movie because he was in the trailer, but I didn't know he was going to be as good as he was. I would have wished that he was in the movie a little bit more, maybe give him more cool stuff to do, but I really liked him in this movie. The problems in this movie really don't lie in the acting. Everyone, I think, does a good job. However, where I think problems do lie in this film is pretty much everything else. And I know a lot of people are just gonna say, you should read the books, it's better explained in the books, you might like the movie a little bit more. But here's the thing, this is a movie. A book and a movie are two separate things. So one story might work really well in a movie, but maybe not translate too well as a book. The same goes for translating a book to a film. A lot of people do say that the book takes its time to explain a lot of things and make you understand what's happening, while the movies just cram it all in. And that just shows that the director Ron Howard and maybe the screenwriter David Kemp just didn't really know how to adapt this book into the film. In fact, maybe they didn't know how to do that for the other two movies. And I'm not just going to like a movie just because I like the book, and I'm not just going to let a movie pass because the book explains something better. The movie should stand on its own. This is an adaptation, after all. I shouldn't have to like a movie just because the book was good. These things should stand on their own, and as a movie fan, because I have not read the books, as a movie fan, these movies are just way too convoluted and really dull. Robert Langdon is a very intelligent character. The history, literature, all this stuff, it just clicks with him. And that's great for the character. Unfortunately, he's going by information so quickly and explaining it so quickly to other people that get it. But then you have a guy like me who has like average intelligence and barely knows anything that he's bringing up historically wise in this film. And I'm just sitting there really having a hard time understanding what he's saying because he's saying it so quickly. Instead of trying to explain certain things easily for the audience so that they can remember it upon first hearing and you can understand what these guys are talking about, they say it in such a complicated history teacher, professor type way, so that when you first hear it, you're like, wait, what? Wait, can you slow down and go back to, I don't know what you're saying. These movies all feel like that kind of movie that a history teacher would play just to pass out a worksheet and ask us to take notes on it. And if you thought the first two movies were convoluted, then you're really gonna hate this movie, because this might just be the most convoluted one. And even though this is an action thriller movie, it really isn't that engaging. There's like 3 or 4 moments where I thought, oh, maybe this is gonna get good, and then it doesn't. The majority of the thrills or action in this movie is just Tom Hanks and Felicity Jones. They go to some place to look for clues. Then the police and other people show up to chase them. Now they're running, and then eventually they get away and Tom Hanks gets a headache. That's the majority of this movie. It's kind of hard to get engaged in any drama or thrills if the main characters are just running from point A to point B constantly. That's a consistent thing in all these movies, though. There's no big action scenes that take place. It's mainly chases and searching for stuff. Another thing that's really consistent with these movies, it's its length. This movie is way too long, but it's the shortest one in the trilogy. The Da Vinci Code was about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and after watching it for the first time, I was like, okay, that maybe could have been shortened by a lot. I felt the pace throughout that, but it was fine. Angels and Demons I saw was about like maybe 5-10 minutes shorter, and I was like, a little better, but it still feels a little long. And now we have Inferno, which I saw was strictly 2 hours, so I was like, okay, maybe I won't feel the pace as much as the other two. Turns out I did. By the time the finale of this movie happens, I was literally just squirming in my chair ready to leave. It was just so boring. But the movie just keeps going on, and I kept getting boreder and more shifty in my regal recliner seat. And finally, though these movies are consistent where they have good acting in all of them, this movie is actually really inconsistent when it comes to its characters. For example, Robert Langdon wakes up and he's forgotten 48 hours of his life, and he's trying to figure that out. And after a big chase with the assassin, he goes back to Felicity Jones's place, and he's trying to ask for coffee, but he forgets the name of it. So when that happened, I was like, oh, so he forgot the past 2 days and certain other things like coffee, but then after that he immediately logs into his Gmail, remembers his username and password, and then after that he's solving puzzles, he's looking at other historical things, explaining a lot of things, and there was never another moment in this movie where he forgot a small detail like coffee. There's one joke that Felicity Jones makes going, and you forgot what coffee was, and at first that was kind of funny, but then I realized, wait, that doesn't make any sense. You can't just have him forget 48 hours of his life, have him forget a small detail like coffee, but then have him remember literally everything else while he's also remembering what happened in the past few days, but coffee, that's a big deal to him? Like, why? They also shoehorn in a love interest for Tom Hanks in this movie. The only problem is she's barely in this thing, and it probably would have worked a lot better if it was a character from a previous film, because that's the way they kind of portray it. It's very fast, but this is a new character, a character we have not seen before. So just having her appear in this movie, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I used to know this person back in the day, and just having them interact like that just really didn't work. I won't spoil who this character is, but there's a character, but at first I thought I know where this guy is going, and then I was like, oh, maybe not, but then, oh, okay, I was right. But by the end of the movie, I was still confused about this guy. I was thinking, is he working on his own, or is he working directly with the bad guy, or maybe he's not? Is it indirect? What is up? And finally, Ben Foster. Dude, why? I praised you. Hell or High Water, Lone Survivor. Why? If you remember my Hell or High Water review, I said Ben Foster can be really good, but then there are movies like Warcraft, or The Mechanic, where he's not too good. And this movie, he's not awful, it's just he's got nothing to do. And it's not just, oh, he's a big actor, and since he wasn't in enough, you are disappointed. It's just the character. His villainous character just really didn't fit well in this movie. Like, near the middle portion of this movie, I actually forgot that there was a villain. I actually forgot that Ben Foster was actually the villain of this movie until they brought him up later, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You're an integral part of this movie. I kind of forgot. Hollywood, please stop wasting Ben Foster in your movies. Just please don't waste him anymore. Overall, if you didn't like the Da Vinci Code, or if you didn't like Angels and Demons, I can't imagine that this movie will change your mind on any of them. It's pretty much the same thing, just maybe a little bit more convoluted, and maybe a little bit more dull. I'm gonna give Inferno a C-. The acting is good, and there are some moments where I thought I was gonna get engaged, but Ron Howard and David Kemp unfortunately failed yet again to adapt one of Dan Brown's books to the big screen. But if you saw Inferno, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.